every pony, and every creature. Welcome to GAG on tonight for Dratta Talks. This is your host, Dratta Arcana, and we're looking forward to tonight because with me tonight is...
ColoradoContraptions.
Welcome back to the show, Colorado. How's the snow out there?
Funny you should mention that. It actually started snowing again a little bit today, and I was like, what? But it's the day before spring. You can't just snow in 2019 be like, no, you have the snow. And I'm like...
Well, I'm sure this will be a good episode for the term spring. Celestia's oneversary, anyone?
True.
So tonight we are reviewing the episode. Colorado and I will be reviewing the episode Horseplay. Yay, plays. Colorado, you did a big musical not too long ago, actually.
Yes, that was last summer. So my dad and I had previously, the summer before last summer, so when was that, 2017? Yeah. He had previously written a melodrama. I wrote some songs for it, some background music for it, and we put that together with a few local folks here in Florence, Colorado, and that went over pretty well. So after my dad and I went to see Phantom of the Opera live on Broadway, he decided, let's do a full-fledged musical. And so I wrote out a full orchestral score. We rehearsed it a bunch of times. We practiced it with the actors and everything. So needless to say, Horseplay is an episode that I really, really related to because everything in it was exactly how you felt doing a real production.
And I personally also have been on a global production myself, having done some video professional work before. And so I also connected with this because it turns out that organizing a play and acting are very hard jobs. And I can imagine Tara Strong and Nicole Oliver just having a lot of fun with this episode.
Absolutely.
I'm sure Nicole Oliver really had a really fun time with this episode because she had to act like she didn't know how to act.
That's almost as impressive as when Ashley Ball had to act like Rainbow Dash acting like Applejack.
Right? So we've definitely seen a lot of good episodes, but let's talk a little bit about Horseplay. So it starts off with Twilight talking with Princess Celestia, asking her if it's okay to do a play on her. Which, honestly, I can see if you had copyright problems, but in Equestria, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm sure that Celestia was going to say yes to that. So I think that was just being over careful.
I guess, yeah. Twilight tends to be more over careful about things like that. And we don't really know the legal structure of this copyright stuff in Equestria anyway, so that doesn't
help.
Hey, yeah. My dad just walked in too, so if there's some interruptions.
Hello!
That was my dad, everyone.
Well, so Celestia basically, for the first time, we see her acting like a fool.
Yes.
That was a great part. And there's a lot of great moments with Celestia in this episode. And I think that's great that we actually have some building character development with Celestia and Twilight, which is something that we've seen them together, but it's like we haven't had really that much character building between them.
Outside of the first episode of season 7, yeah, they really haven't had a lot of time explaining that or developing that or exploring that. And I really love that they're doing that a lot more.
Yeah, and I felt that Celestia definitely was out of her element. We finally found out that she's a terrible actor, apparently. But as we get through the episode, we see that, Twilight casts Celestia, who has no real acting experience, to be a lead actress. Now, Colorado, would you have hired someone that had no acting experience to be the lead?
Is your camera on? No?
Mm-mm. Sorry. Okay. Dad interrupting again.
Would you hire someone for a lead actress role who has no acting experience whatsoever?
Not normally, no.
So, and for Twilight, that's kind of like outside of what she would normally do, right? Normally she would go with the better option,
True.
But I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Colorado, but didn't you feel like the Twilight was trying too hard to help out Celestia to achieve her goals?
I don't know. On one hand, yes, but at the same time, I think she was just a little bit too excited with the idea of spending time with Celestia to really think everything through clearly. And that's something she's done in the past, is not think things through to their fullest conclusion. And I'm guilty of that too, so it's pretty relatable.
Yeah. Well, once the main six find out that Celestia is going to be the main cast for the play, Starlight had a great comment. I think it's one of Starlight's best comments yet in the writing. I'm trying to remember the exact quote.
I have the transcript here.
Oh, please, by all means, Colorado. Dratta's not prepared.
Let me see here. Where was it? Oh, yeah, she was saying... So Applejack was saying, why are you all so starstruck? We've met Princess Celestia before plenty of times. And Starlight was like, those were formal things. Galas, world saving. This is different. Imagine just doing sweaty warm-ups with a princess, blowing your nose in front of a princess, etc. And then Twilight was like, I'm a princess. You talk to me. And then Starlight was like, that's different. You're not a princess.
I think best Starlight moment definitely that we've seen in a while. I felt like that we saw a lot of Starlight in season 7, and I like that we're not seeing as much of Starlight in this one, but that has to be, I feel like that Starlight was true to her personality there.
Yes, her blunt honesty and her blunt straightforwardness is just priceless.
It is. And watching Celestia try to dance was terrible.
She was so stiff. It was like a robot. And she was always late, too. She wasn't in time with the music at all.
And as you know, Colorado, being on a actual musical, how important is it to be in time with the music? Make sure that you're, delivering your lines at just the right time. How hard is that for them, for the actors?
It can be pretty difficult, especially if, because the way you need to set it up is everything needs to go as smoothly as possible so that transitions feel natural. Everything feels like it flows well. And if one person gets out of line, it throws everybody off, and then you really have to struggle to get everything lined back up. Very much like conducting an orchestra or playing an orchestral piece.
Yeah, and one of the big things that ended up happening to poor Twilight was not only did she have to start giving, Celestia acting lessons, but they also managed to destroy all the props.
Yes.
So I have a friend that works in theater, and he's always told me that whenever someone does not do the audio or the props correctly, he freaks out. And rightfully so. I mean, those are pieces for the musical that you actually need.
Right. Yeah, especially if you do that during the middle of a scene transition. If the stage crew puts a prop just slightly off and an actor comes on thinking it's out of the way and stumbles over it, well, that just messed up quite a bit of things there.
Right. And poor Celestia was all over the place. But the big thing that we saw in this episode was Twilight being lectured by Applejack about honesty. And that's an interesting topic, you know. Applejack keeps telling Twilight, just tell her the truth.
It's the obvious correct thing, but Twilight is so focused on her one goal that she ignores her with obviously disastrous results.
Yeah, and she wants Celestia to be part of the show and everything. And that's where, you know, I feel like that sometimes directors and stuff get so worked up in what people get worked up in the fact that one person fills one role and they want to see that person in that role all the time, but we forget that there's like a gazillion things that go into, you know, making a musical, making movies, because you have to have the cameraman for movies, you have to have, you know, someone managing the actors, making sure people go out on time and everything. There's a whole bunch of things involved.
Yeah, the list can go on and on.
The list can go on and on. And I feel like that we're talking a lot about acting and production, but we're not really covering the episode, and that's what I feel like we're doing right now. So massive tangent. But yes,
it's fine because it is related.
Right. So of course, you know, after all of this goes down, Twilight's freak out moment of the episode.
Yes.
By the way, before we get to the freak out, I loved how Luna, as Luna's walking in, she looks towards Fancy, I think his name's Fancy Pants and Floor, and Floor and Fancy Pants kind of wave to Luna. And Luna acknowledges them. Luna might not have had a speaking role, but I bet she was there to see how bad her sister would fail.
You know, that's probably true. Just a little sibling rivalry there.
Just a little. But yeah, no, I like that Luna was in that episode, for me at least. But I definitely think that Twilight's little freak out, I think it had to do more with the fact that she was not being honest with Celestia in that. If she had just been honest, she wouldn't have freaked out.
Well, partly. The other thing is, keep in mind, she was on a very accelerated schedule to get this production all in line. Normally, you would plan this production like 3 months in advance. Twilight was just like, oh, let's write the play and perform it tonight. That's a little extreme. But, I mean, everything in Equestria is on an accelerated timeline. But I could understand her frustration from that perspective as well, because Pinky was trying all the last-minute things she could try to do to get a son, and they absolutely backfired and almost risked Pony's lives.
So why would you buy untested fireworks from Trixie in a back alley?
I mean, I'm a bit of a pyromaniac myself, but I would definitely not use that as a stage prop.
I think technically you're not supposed to.
Oh, that depends. Different theaters have different regulations.
True.
Some theaters will let you use that stuff, but only if you sign liability waivers, that sort of thing. Other theaters are just like, nope, you need to come up with an alternate solution for this sort of effect.
Right.
But anyway.
So Celestia and Twilight have their, talk. heart-to-heart talk. And that was probably one of the most emotional conversations for me between Twilight and Celestia. I felt that we got a lot of good character development out of that. And it was such a good scene. It was well done. We got to see Celestia sit on a cloud, which was kind of cool. But their talk is just so... That was the big moment for me for that episode. And of course, Celestia figures out that Twilight admits that she just wanted Celestia to be part of the play because she never got that chance when she was a foal. So I feel like, and Celestia says, she never had to be an actress for a play. She just wanted to be part of it.
Right, and there's plenty of other ways to do that. She could have very well just helped with stage props or directing some stuff or help with costume changes or backstage work, whatever. But I think Twilight was too focused on, no, you must be the star, and didn't think of those other possibilities.
Yeah, and that's a really important thing, is that you really got to look at all the possible roles, not so much, sometimes you really, really think, and that's another important thing too, especially in films and in plays about, an individual where that individual is actually the person that actually went through that. So when you have someone that is acting as themselves, that's sometimes not the best call.
True. In most cases, it does make it a little easier, but it's not always easiest, especially if they really don't have much acting experience.
Yeah, exactly. So all in all, the episode ends well, and I guess all's well that ends well,
Using episodes to reference episodes. 10 out of 10.
But it turns out their play was also 10 out of 10. So good job, Celestia, for saving the day.
Quick note about that. Did you notice Luna's expression when Celestia raised the actual sun?
Oh, yes.
She was not happy.
No, considering it was nighttime.
I could understand that, but at the same time, you have Celestia there. Might as well take advantage of that.
Right. But doesn't that contradict what Celestia told Twilight in the movie?
It kind of does, but I think in this particular instance, Celestia was trying to help Twilight make up for everything that went wrong that day, just to show how much she cared.
That too. Though that last line from Celestia about
yes,
I have a controversy with that line. That last line from Celestia, pretending to act. It's almost like, did she know how to act all along, or was she, or did she actually not know how to act, and she gained that from the experience of watching the others act?
That's actually a very good question, because on one hand, it very well could be that she knew, but on the other hand, it very well could be that she's just a very fast learner and she picked all that up as they went on with rehearsals and such.
Yeah, and that's a debate that I've seen a lot of reviewers try to cover. Some have said, it was just Celestia testing Twilight, or, I really think that in this case, Celestia just picked it up by learning it all over the time that she spent watching, the play and everything. And I think it was the fact that she was no longer on the spot for being lead actress as well.
Yeah, that's possible too. Because if she's just more hanging out, having fun with them, she can come up with some of those witty remarks.
Exactly. I think that her issue, I feel like that Celestia actually has stage fright, like Fluttershy.
Maybe a very mild case, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not so sure that it's all. I think that what actually happened was Celestia was a little nervous about being on stage, maybe.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts, Colorado? Anything you wanted to cover?
Oh, the actual content of the play itself. That's kind of a cool little story, explaining how originally the unicorns and Starswirl the Bearded were all trying to raise the sun, but just couldn't because their magic couldn't take it. That's kind of cool backstory.
That
everything.
Actually is a very important backstory. I can't believe I totally forgot about it, to mention it. But yes, so the actual content behind the play is very fascinating in and of itself. It tells us, why Celestia is in the role that she is. And that's not necessarily something that we knew beforehand. So not only did we learn a lot about Celestia and Twilight's relationship, and not only was it character building, but it gave us a backstory. And that's the sign of a phenomenal episode.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I love it when they fill things in like that.
Yeah, and that's probably why I might have missed it. But, to see that, and that tells us that the sun's magic can only be used by one who is attuned to the sun and whose actual magic is related to the sun. So, and that's, I did a podcast a couple weeks ago on Princess Luna and her power with the moon. And I talked a little bit about what I thought Celestia's powers were, but it's interesting to see that, in this episode we learn that Celestia was brought into that role, being able to raise the sun herself. And maybe that has to do with her alicornism. We're also given a date as well.
Yeah. 1111.
Yeah. So we're actually given an official date of when Celestia first raised the sun, which is neat. And I feel like that part was overlooked in a lot of reviews.
True, because now we can kind of start to figure out, okay, how does this piece together with the rest of the timeline? Like the infamous saying before that, 1,000 years ago, Discord, 1,000 years ago, Sombra, right. etc.
So it's possible now that, Sombra and Discord were very close together thanks to this episode.
True. And it's possible that they didn't actually have and actually, because of the 1111, we know that they happened before Celestia knew that she was meant to fill the role to raise the sun. Which leads me to believe that, geez, before that, life in Equestria must have been really, really messy.
Yeah. But that also tells us that Celestia might have been very closely, if we look back at the episode, the other play episode that Twilight was in, way back when, in season 1 or 2, I think it was 1, talking about Hearthswarming.
I think it was 2.
2? It's the episode where they do the play on Hearthswarming Eve, and we see, so Starswirl is actually mentioned in the play. And
right.
So if Clover the Clever was a disciple of Starswirl, which also Celestia was a disciple of Starswirl, it's possible that Celestia comes just slightly after Clover the Clever.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. So we learned a lot from this episode about the timeline, the relationship between Twilight and Celestia, and it's always interesting to think about this for the future, too, future episodes.
Definitely.
So, any last thoughts, Colorado?
I think that's about all I can think of.
Okay. Well, in any case, it was a great episode, and
Absolutely.
I'd love to see more like this, where we get more
Yes.
more on Celestia and Luna and everything. I hope that we see more of it in the future, and I love these moments between all these characters. And I understand why Luna didn't have a speaking role. That trying to fit so much stuff in one thing is really hard to do in 22 minutes. But
one more quick thought.
Sure.
I just realized this is a new writer.
It is.
Man.
I can't pronounce that name for the life of me, though.
I think it's Kaida, something Mapambara?
Something close to that. Anyways, he did a really good job with this episode.
Absolutely. That was phenomenal. I can't wait to see what he comes up with for the next season.
I can't either. I mean, I'm super excited to see what he has to offer to the MLP staff. So I think, that's great in all that we have a new writer that did that phenomenal.
And knows the characters and did enough research to make such a great episode. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Anyways, guys, that will about do it for Dratta Talks tonight. As always, this is your host, Dratta Arcana. If you're looking to contact me, you can contact me via drattaarcana@gmail.com, or you can contact me at Dratta Arcana Gaming on Facebook. And if you're looking for any of my other content, including this and other videos, you can take a look at my YouTube page and my Twitch channel. And with me tonight is
ColoradoContraptions. And you could pretty much contact me in very similar ways via my YouTube channel, ColoradoContraptions. You can also check out my videos there. You could post discussion comments and etc. And then you can also email me through at ColoradoContraptions@gmail.com.
And you guys should definitely check out Colorado's blind reactions. They're phenomenal. Please check out his channel. And anyways, guys, this is Dratta Arcana. No but Dratta comments. We'll see you guys on the next video.